Hey friends, welcome to our Midweek Moment. Pastor Nicole here. I wanted to talk a little bit about our sermon this past Sunday. We're in a sermon series called When in Doubt, Finding Faith in the Midst of Uncertainties. And this weekend we were talking about, is heaven real? One of those, controversial questions that can cause us some doubt in our faith. One of those things that we can't see, and so we have to have faith to believe in it. And sometimes we have doubts around that, which is completely normal and absolutely fine. But I wanted to share a little bit about some discussion that we had. We have a small group Bible study that's going along with this series based on Adam Hamilton's book, Wrestling with Doubt, Finding Faith. And in our little study this week, our little group, we had some great discussion around the idea of what is heaven going to be like, and kind of what do we envision it to be like. And as we went around the table, we were talking about, we kind of see it as a big expanse of space where it's just, lovely and calm and peaceful. We talked about having all of our favorite things and our favorite people, and it just kind of being this like lovely, wonderful place. And that's a lot of people's view of heaven, I think. We also then read a passage of scripture from Isaiah where it talks about heaven being like a wedding banquet, and all these people are there, and there's all this food, and there's celebration, and we kind of talked as a group about how, in ancient times, how extravagant wedding feasts were. They lasted for days. Adam Hamilton brought this up in his little video, that they lasted for days. People would save up. It was a huge blessing, and so the idea of heaven being like a big wedding feast with dancing and laughter and all the wonderful things that you think of when you think about a wonderful wedding gathering. And our group started thinking about, wow, those are some really different ideas of heaven that we have going on. And we kind of landed on, culturally, this wedding feast was something really special. It didn't happen very often. They didn't have a lot of things in their life, and so this celebration was something to be excited about. And it was just like it's just something that everybody looked forward to. But we thought, nowadays we're so busy and we're going to so many things and doing all of these things, that isn't it interesting that now our hope of heaven is just peace and quiet and just kind of sitting and being in nature and being with our loved ones, and it's just kind of quiet. And I thought, isn't that kind of an interesting point? One of our Bible study members brought that up about how it seems to have shifted because of how we've shifted as a culture, and that's shaping how we view heaven. All of that to say, I just thought that was kind of an interesting conversation and wanted to pass that along to you. But all that to say is, do we really know what heaven is going to be like? No, we don't. In the sermon, I talked about how, if it's worship all of the time, then we're going to have to worship through all these different forms of worship, like, first century Latin worship and Russian Orthodox worship, and, all of these different languages and songs. And maybe that's what heaven's going to be like. To our finite minds, that might not seem so great. Like, I don't know how to speak, Russian. How am I going to worship in Russian? But in heaven, it'll be a little different, right? So we can speculate what heaven is going to be like. We can come up with ideas. We can even listen to people who have had, kind of these near-death experiences where they've had kind of a vision of heaven. But the truth is, we don't really know what it's like. And maybe we're not meant to know what it's like. talked a little bit about that in the sermon this weekend as well, if you haven't had a chance to watch it, that Jesus doesn't tell us a lot about heaven, but he tells us an awful lot about earth. So maybe when we're here on earth, we're supposed to focus on the things of this earth, the ways that we can make this a better place, the ways that we can serve people and bring goodness and love into the world. And maybe heaven will just kind of be the next step on our journey. We don't have to worry about it. It's all prepared and ready for us. We don't have to spend a lot of time like thinking about it or anticipating it or like planning what it's going to be like. Maybe we can just be okay with the unknown of we don't know. We know it's going to be great. We know Jesus is going to be there. We know Jesus is preparing a place and that he'll take us there. And maybe that can be enough for us. There's a lot to think about when it comes to heaven. And I think it is interesting to think about, but I think what might get us caught up is when we spend too much time focusing on our life to come and not enough on living in the here and now. So I'll leave you with that thought this week and invite you to worship this weekend. We're going to wrap up our When in Doubt series, and we're going to be talking about why doesn't God answer all of our prayers? Why do some prayers go unanswered? So I hope you will join us for that. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. And I hope you remember the homework from the sermon, which was to be on the lookout for pieces of heaven that you see in your life, in your everyday life, and report those back to me. I would love to hear how you are experiencing heaven in your life now. So let me know. And we'll see y'all this weekend, whether in person or online. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Bye.